Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum and salam sejahtera. For this session, we will discuss about prerequisite for valid time standards. So the time to perform one work cycle of a given manual task depend on the worker, his or her physical size and strength, as well as mental abilities, the worker's pace, the method used, such as hand and body motions, the tooling, equipment, and work environment, and the work unit. As a prerequisite for establishing a standard time for a task, all of these factors must be standardized. So there are four prerequisites for valid time standard. First, the standard input work unit. Second, the standard method. The third prerequisite is average worker. And the fourth prerequisite is standard performance. So all these four prerequisites will be discussed in detail afterwards. Establishing this definition for the task is a requirement for setting a valid time standard, and the definition must be fully documented for future reference. If any of the factors change in the future application of the task, then it can be argued that the previously determined time standard is no longer valid. So that's why important to make sure all these four prerequisites being well documented. Yeah. So we look at the first prerequisite for valid time standard, a standard work unit. So the time required to accomplish the task is likely to depend on the condition of the input work unit. Therefore, this condition must be specified as completely as possible in the standard method statement. Similarly, the condition of the output work unit must be specified. So the starting condition to the end condition must be clearly documented. So exactly what changes have been made in the work unit as a result of the task performed on it, and what is the final state of the completed work unit. So that's the first prerequisite for valid time standard. The starting condition to the end condition of the task or process must be clearly defined. Okay, the next is standard method, the second prerequisite. The second prerequisite for valid time standard is standard method. The standard method is the procedure that has been determined to the optimum method for processing a work unit. The standard method satisfies the one best method principle. It is the procedure that is the safest, quickest, most productive, and least stressful to the worker. So the standard method should include the following details about how a task is performed. So this is minimum requirement info that should have in the standard method document. Yeah. So first, the procedure. Action and motion used by the worker. This is best described by listing the work elements that comprise the work cycle from the start to the end of the task or process. Second, tools. These include hand tools and portable power tools, fixtures and gauge used in the procedure. Okay. The third, equipment, includes machinery and safety equipment used to perform the task. Fourth, the workplace layout. This is important. How is the workplace arranged? What are the locations of the parts, tools that will allow for the most efficient methods? Okay, the part arrangement, layout. Where do the work units enter and exit the workplace? So, a workplace layout must also include in the standard method document, including how the part and the tool been arranged in the layout. Next is the irregular work. Yeah. These include tasks that are not performed every work cycle. Depending on the task, these irregular work elements may include changing tools as they wear out, changing parts containers as they become empty or full. Means the element of changing parts containers is not appear in every cycle, but only appear when the containers become empty or full. So these irregular works must also be clearly defined in the standard methods. Yeah. So the next is working conditions. The environment's working conditions is the work performed outside or inside? What is the surrounding temperature, noise level, and other conditions that might affect the work environment? And the last one is the setup information. What setup of the physical tools and equipment is required to perform the task, and how much time is allowed for the setup. Okay? And all these information must be clearly documented in the standard method document. And then we move to the next prerequisite, the average worker. Yeah. Average worker is a worker who is representative of the person who usually perform tasks similar to the task being measured. If similar tasks are performed mostly by men and gender makes a difference in the ability to perform the task, then the average worker should be defined as a male. If performed mostly by women, example, you can see at the semiconductor industry in the production floor, then the average worker should be defined as a woman or a female worker. And sometimes men are better suited to a certain type of work, and sometimes women are better suited. So in addition, the average worker is assumed to have learned the task and is practiced and proficient at it. So that's means by the third prerequisite for valid time standard average worker. So we must pick a right representative to perform the task. And the last prerequisite or the fourth prerequisite for a valid time standard is standard performance. So standard performance is a pace of working that can be maintained by the average worker throughout an entire work shift without harmful effects on the worker's health or physical well-being. This work shift is usually considered to be an 8-hour working day, during which the worker is allowed periodic rest breaks and may experience other interruptions. Yeah. So this figure shows how a worker performance is expressed in terms of daily output. So we can see here is a daily production output for 8 hours. So in this figure shows at average performance, the worker can produce 800 units or 800 pieces per 8 hours. So it means that 480 minutes divided by 100 pieces. So the times taken to produce one piece is 4.8 minutes. Yeah? 4.8 minutes. Okay, 4.8 minute. Yeah? 8 minutes per piece. But usually an organization use a multiplier. Example, in this case, the multiplier used is 130% or 1.3. So from the 4.8 minutes times by 1.3, yeah, so 4.8 minutes times 1.3, so we get this 6.24 minutes. So in this example, shows the distribution of a worker performance, indicating how standard time is defined so that it can be readily achieved by most workers. Because we must remember the others factor that's been included in the standard time also is allowance time. Yeah? So that's the fourth requisite for valid time standards. So to conclusion, there are four prerequisites for a valid time standard. First, the standard work unit, followed by standard performance, average worker, and standard method. So thank you.